I never imagined I'd tell this story. Not out loud, not to anyone. Some moments feel like they belong in the quiet, safely tucked away in memory, untouched by judgment, untouched by reason. But not this one. This moment doesn't want to stay silent anymore. It keeps circling back like the final notes of a song that won't leave you, like a scent that clings to your skin, like the warmth of a glance that lingers too long. And maybe that's because it wasn't just a moment. It was the moment. It began like any other summer evening, the kind where the sun stretches across the sky just a little too long, as if reluctant to leave. The light fell lazily across my porch, golden and soft, and the day still clung to the air in a warm haze. The cardboard box sat quietly by the steps, looking perfectly innocent, until he picked it up. He wore that same plain white t-shirt I'd seen on him a dozen times, a little too snug across the shoulders, faded from too many washes. His boots were worn, his jeans slightly dusty. He looked so ordinary, but nothing about the way I watched him felt ordinary at all. He bent over to lift the package, and I almost said the usual, polite, "Thank you." But something shifted in me. Instead, I let the silence stretch for a second longer. Then I said something unplanned, something light, maybe even flirtatious, though I told myself it wasn't. "Since you're already down there," I murmured, arms crossed in the doorway, "you mind bringing it inside for me?" He paused, halfway up, and looked at me. Really looked. Not annoyed, not confused, just waiting, like he was giving me a choice. I didn't explain. I didn't laugh it off. I simply stepped back and pushed the door open wider. He carried the box inside without a word. As he brushed past, his shoulder grazed mine. Barely, gently, but the air around us shifted with that one touch, like something unspoken had been acknowledged. The house suddenly didn't feel so quiet. He set the box down by the table with deliberate care, as though it mattered, as though we both knew this moment meant something more. I lingered in the entryway, watching him. The light in the room was soft now, the last of the sun filtering in, turning everything golden. He stood still for a beat longer than he needed to, holding the box like it was more than just cardboard. "Water?" I asked, moving toward the kitchen. "Sure," he said, his voice steady, unrushed. I reached for a glass and felt his eyes on me as I moved. The hem of my sundress floated just above my knees, catching the light. I didn't wear shoes, it was far too warm, and the floor felt cool beneath my bare feet. I leaned forward to open the fridge, and when I turned back, he was at the counter. Close, closer than before. I handed him the glass. Our fingers brushed. He took a sip, then set it down. "Nice place," he said quietly. "Thanks," I replied, leaning against the counter. "You in a rush today?" He shook his head. "Not unless I need to be." I reached around him for another glass, letting my arm skim his. He didn't step back. His hand was resting on the counter beside mine, steady, warm, close. We didn't move. "You always hang around this long?" I asked. He smiled faintly. "Only when I'm welcome." My hand stayed where it was. "You haven't overstayed yet." His fingers shifted slightly, just enough for our pinkies to touch. A subtle, simple thing, but I felt it all the way through me. I looked up at him. He was watching me, not boldly, but intently, quietly, as though this mattered more than either of us wanted to admit. Then slowly, he lifted his hand from the counter and took mine in his. His thumb brushed across the back of my hand, gentle and thoughtful. And then he raised my hand, just near his face, for the briefest moment, like he was weighing something unspoken. A breath held in his chest. He didn't say a word, just released it. His other hand hovered near my waist. I didn't pull away. Instead, I touched his chest lightly through his shirt, feeling the warmth beneath, and then let my hand fall again. He stepped forward just a bit, not imposing, not demanding. I leaned back until I met the counter, but I didn't move away. He tilted his head, eyes never leaving mine. He leaned closer, not enough to cross a line, but enough to ask a silent question. I didn't answer out loud. I didn't need to. Would you mind closing the curtains? I asked, voice low. Without hesitation, he moved. As he crossed the room, I pressed my fingers to the necklace around my neck, the pendant shifting beneath my skin, grounding me. By the time he returned, something between us had softened. The heat wasn't gone, but the urgency had melted into something slower, more certain. I stepped toward him, one small, measured step, and then I reached out. My fingers rested just near his collarbone, where his pulse beat steadily beneath his skin. I wasn't even sure why I touched him. I just needed to. Then his lips were on mine, not sudden, not unsure, just there, simple, quiet, understood. He lifted a hand to my shoulder, strong, steady, and I felt myself sink into the moment. There was no rush. The silence wrapped around us like a blanket, holding everything still. His other hand settled at the small of my back, not pulling, just being there, present, real. My own hand drifted to his shoulder, where I left it, grounding myself just as he did. Our foreheads touched briefly. A quiet meeting of thoughts, of feelings, no words, just breathe. Then he looked toward the counter, then back at me, a question, unspoken. I gave him a small nod. That was all he needed. He stepped close, hands gentle, and eased me onto the counter's edge. Every motion was careful, deliberate, like we were writing a language with our bodies. I met his eyes again, my knees brushing his sides, still not touching too much, still not hurrying. When I lifted my hand to his face, brushing his temple, it felt like touching a page before turning it. Slow, reverent. He leaned into the kiss this time, deeper, more certain, the kind that fills your lungs and steals your name. Still, we didn't rush. There was no need. Everything we hadn't said was already there, in the hush of the house, in the distance we chose not to cross, in the space we let fill with something tender and entirely real. When he pulled back, I met his gaze again. No confusion, no doubt, only truth. He helped me down, careful as always, and I stayed close. We walked together into the living room, our steps soft across the floorboards. I let my hand rest on his arm. He didn't pull away. We sat down on the couch, side by side. The quiet between us was complete, but not empty. It was full of knowing, full of recognition. His hand found mine again. Light, easy, not gripping, not needing, just holding. I leaned into the warmth of him, and for the first time in a long time, I let myself feel it all. The closeness, the comfort, the slow unfolding of something neither of us planned, but neither of us resisted. And in that stillness, I realized something. It wasn't about passion. It wasn't about loneliness. It was about being seen. It was about being felt, like a song heard in a quiet room, like a breath in the dark. He didn't speak. He didn't have to. And when I tilted my head back, eyes closed, hand in his, I wasn't just a woman anymore. I was alive again. Fully. Finally. Quietly. What would you have done next? Leave your thoughts in the comments. I'll be reading every single one. And if this story made your heart skip even once, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss another one. Thank you for being here.